Is this better?
Okay, yeah, it's better.
I
So
think
go ahead.
Samuel might be able to. I think Samuel should disconnect the earpiece. Microphone on the earpiece is alright. Make it not high enough.
Okay. All right. While he's getting ready on that, I will go ahead to introduce our speakers. So we have Jonathan Okanlawon. Pardon me if I didn't get that pronunciation very well. He is the co-founder, board executive, Global Croft Limited. Jonathan Okanlawon is a seasoned entrepreneur, management consultant, and public speaker with over 2 decades of experience driving strategic business transformation across multiple sectors. As co-founder and board executive at Global Croft Limited, a Lagos-based consulting and project management firm, he has led numerous initiatives focused on organizational efficiency, infrastructure development, and innovation-led growth. With deep expertise in strategy, governance, and implementation, Jonathan brings a holistic understanding on how technology, policy, and human capital intersect to deliver sustainable development outcomes. His adversary his adversary work has influenced projects in both the private and public sectors, particularly in advancing smart urban infrastructure and promoting equitable access to opportunities. You're welcome, Jonathan. So before I come back, I'll introduce Sheyi Oke, who is the co-founder, lead trainer at Tech Sales Academy. As the founder and lead trainer at Tech Sales Academy, Sheyi is a driving digital inclusion and workforce transformation through practical technology education. His academy equips professionals and young talents with high demand digital sales skills, helping them integrate into Africa's fast growing tech ecosystem. All right. So through his work, Sheyi bridges the gap between talent, technology, and opportunity, fostering an inclusive digital economy where individuals and businesses can thrive. And last on the list, we have Olumide Okewole, who is the founder, CEO, Cloud Senior. Olumide is the founder and CEO of Cloud Senior, a Lagos-based dev, automation platform, transforming how businesses build, deploy, and scale digital infrastructure assets across Africa. With years of experience in cloud engineering and software development, he has become a thought leader in driving cloud adoption and infrastructure automation within Nigeria technology ecosystem. So through Cloud Senior, Olumide focuses on empowering organizations and reliable, scalable, and cost-effective DevOps solution. So helping startups and enterprise alike bridge infrastructural gap, enhance operational efficiency, and drive digital transformation. So his approach reflects a commitment to enabling inclusive access to cloud technologies that can power innovation and growth across Africa. So with that, let us begin by hearing from our speakers. So I will start with Jonathan. Jonathan, are you there? Okay, I'll start with you, Jonathan. In your view, how can technology serve as a catalyst for expanding infrastructure access and driving inclusive growth in Lagos? Based on the topic, in your view, how can technology serve as a catalyst for expanding infrastructure access and driving inclusive growth in Lagos? Hello, Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan. Jonathan, are you there? Ah, can you all hear me? Hello. Ah, hello, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me, please?
Yes, I think Jonathan needs to unmute. All right, we can try it now, I think.
Okay. Jonathan, are you there?
All right, can you hear me?
Okay, thank you. Is that Jonathan?
Can you hear me? Yes.
Okay, Jonathan, please. You had the question right. I said to start with you, in your view, based on the topic we are looking at today, how can technology serve as a catalyst for expanding infrastructure access and driving inclusive growth in Lagos?
Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and sorry, you needed to unmute my mic for me, but I want to say that it's my privilege to be here. I want to know how to respond because I will appreciate that. Thank you. Can you hear me, Prince Will?
Yes, can hear you. Can you come again?
Wow. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly now. Sorry, I wasn't clear then.
Oh, sorry. So I was saying that if you can take the question again, I'll appreciate that so that I know how to respond.
Okay, like as I said, today we are looking at today's topic, which is using technology to expand infrastructure access and ensure inclusive growth. So, from this topic, the question I will ask you is that, in your view, how can technology serve as a catalyst now for expanding this infrastructure access and driving inclusive growth in Lagos?
Okay, thank you very much, Prince Will. Thank you to everyone. Technology, I always tell people, is an enabler, and it is a must-have. It's a must-have, and we need to look at technology from the lens as technology as a core infrastructure, and of course, for a city like, since we are drilling down to Lagos and want to look at what's the clear digital vision for the city. I really love the topic for this year's AOT 7.0. So we need to look at what does a future-ready mega city mean in real terms. And we look at things like some of the challenges that we face, like improved access to healthcare. We look at the digital financial inclusion and so many other examples. We also need to look at how can we build a common digital backbone. Very, very important. Broadband and reliable power. For technology, you need reliable power. This is the 21st century. There's no excuse. We can't give any excuse that we are in Africa, Nigeria. We need reliable power. We look at once those things exist, then the backbone exists, then private players can build different things, mobility apps, learning platforms, smart grid solutions, and various things. Thirdly, we must prioritize high impact use cases and not just focus on shiny tools. We are in the era of AI now. We should look at how would AI and IoT, Internet of Things, how can we use it for things like traffic management, things that we face in Lagos, some challenges, traffic management. Every year we know there's always flooding in the June, July season, flood prediction, and that issue that we face, which is being trying to be resolved on a day-to-day basis, waste management, and also very importantly, security. We can actually use technology to tackle these. And then we can also look at the arena of clean energy, smart meters, and to improve reliability of power of course, in low-income communities. So we need, as a city, we need to link technology investments to directly to real problems. It's very important. We also need to measure the impact, and then we now scale what works. Scale what works. And then we can now close both the infrastructure and inclusion gap. So these are just some of my thoughts for a city like Lagos. The potential is there for Lagos to become a mega city. Is already on its way to being that, but we can even take it a notch higher if we try to implement some of these things, the willingness to implement some of these things, and then we would achieve the success that we are looking for. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. I'll come over to you, Sheyi. So, Sheyi, looking for from this topic now, also from your experience, what specific technology or innovation do you believe can most effectively bring infrastructure gaps and ensure that growth in Lagos is inclusive?
All right. Thank you very much for that. I think that there are a little bit of things that we can consider when talking about inclusiveness for infrastructure or maybe a digital market space. Um, you should have a proper digital market space. The closest we have been to that in Nigeria or in Lagos is Instagram vendors. All right. A lot of business is being done by Instagram vendors, TikTok vendors, Facebook vendors. That's the closest we have been to that. We have a proper e-commerce apart from Jumia. I know Jumia can get a lot of things, but when you go to outside of Nigeria, you see e-commerce is like let's say in Asia, for example, e-commerce creates that marketplace vendor for someone that can even buy clothes. You can sew it for you. Like I said, the closest we have been in social media vendor. So if we should have that, I believe that that we have a lot of inclusive when it comes to using the digital space. Another thing is that for those that are so for marketplaces, for those that are going into business, we are looking at those that are going to say career. Let's talk about remote work access or school programs. Okay, someone can know that, oh, I can take a particular program, right, online, then go to a particular place where I know that, oh, there are people offering remote jobs or even hybrid jobs, and can get the work done. Same thing. The closest we have been is content creation. You know, so that's also a place where I know that I can get a remote work. I can learn skill programs. Also, I think part of what will help inclusiveness is access to microcredit. Okay, we are trying. Sincerely, there are a lot of companies in Lagos that are trying this, but it has not still gotten to some places access to that microcredits where people without collateral, people without banking history, can get access to small loans for business. And I believe this will help a lot of micro entrepreneurs. All right. Of course, lastly, I will say information access, which basically has to do with for now, you see, I was speaking with someone this evening, sorry, this afternoon, and he said Nigerians don't use YouTube the way it's supposed to be used. Nigerians use YouTube for home video. So, a major reason why a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians that are even in the on the on something like unattended or underserved communities, they go and watch home videos. They go and watch a movie that someone created. So we need to create that system where people know that they can go to a YouTube to learn, to get free courses. I can get exposed to insights that I never have. So because technically technology is not just about opening doors, it also melts walls and does it can help you create a lot of value across different borders. Thank you. Are you there, Principal?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that wonderful insight. So, Olumide, looking at Lagos development priorities, how do we see future technologies helping to make infrastructure more accessible, efficient, and equitable for all residents? Over to you, Olumide.
Okay, please, can you come again with the question? Thank you.
Yeah, looking at the topic for today now. So we are going to look at it this way now, looking at Lagos development priorities. So how do you see future technologies helping to make infrastructure more accessible, efficient, and equitable for all residents?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Principal, for that, and thank you to the committee. It's great to be here. So how do we, where do we see,
Future
how do we use
technologies
technology, right, to drive, more, what was that word again?
to make infrastructure more accessible, efficient, and equitable for everyone.
Okay, to make infrastructure more accessible and equitable for everyone. So when we look at technology as a whole, right, it is more like what Mr. Jonathan said is the enabler for every, is an enabler, right, which helps us do things smarter, which helps us do things more efficiently and also more productive, right? And when we narrow it down to a lot of countries that technology has enabled in terms of the resident space, right? We can see that there is a certain level of simplicity it gets when it comes to scale, when it comes to the infrastructural perspective. So how can Lagos leverage this, for the residents in Lagos State? Currently, based on what we have, there is a certain fragmentation in terms of how do you how do you get a certain building? How do you, purchase a building, purchase a land, rent one apartment or the other because there is so many isolations, there's so many fragmentations, right? And how do we bring it to a point whereby we have this unity and centrality across board, right? I believe that with Lagos, opening up to certain level of technology that could drive that, right? Having a central edge case where we are able to track every record of every citizen, right, within each of their certain geolocations, and also being able to, account to how well they are able to get affordability in terms of good apartments, good lands, good, residents, right? I also believe that with the rate at which Lagos is going to making Lagos a smart city, a lot of innovations and inventions can be leveraged on due to the technology that we have out there, with Internet of Things, with, artificial intelligence, with also making sure that there is scalable infrastructure, even to, to the SMEs, right? The small scale business and the micro small scale businesses, right, is by making sure that there's an inclusiveness, right, in our data. There's an inclusiveness in terms of how we, make provisions to the informal sector, right? The informal sector. I was doing a wild research. I came across this informal report of, the of Nigerians informal community, right? And it shows that over 85% of the small SMEs contribute to 85 of the GDP, right? Which means that, the average Nigerian, the pepper sellers, the fish sellers, all of these things, all of these people, they all contribute highly. And how do we, aggregate all of this data to give back better returns, like in terms of proper facility to boost your business, in terms of proper facility to loans, in terms of inclusiveness in their overall, goal as a builder to the economy. So if Lagos can look into things like this, areas of how we can centralize data across the informal sector and the formal sector, right? Making sure that there is affordability of certain resources, using technology to drive, the projections of sectors that are untapped yet, because I call them like the untapped market, right? They are things that they are a very strong backbone to the economy, but without data-driven policies, without data-driven analytics, you would not be able to actually get a full goal of how well this impacts Lagos State as a whole. So I believe that with that, working as a cloud first and as a data first country, as a data first state, it helps us, access the data that are probably not even, known to us yet in terms of, how well the market seller is being able to, access loans, how well they're able to get better infrastructure, how well they're able to use technology, to boost their business, and how all of this still scale down to building an inclusive and a growth Lagos State. I hope that's sort of answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a question for Jonathan. From what you spoke about and from your background, I think you're the best person to answer this question. My question is from a strategic management perspective, how can Lagos leverage technology to close its infrastructure and inclusion gap? Because you've talked about flood management, waste management, some of the issues also we face right now in Lagos are technology. But I need you to go give us advanced, strategies. What are the strategies that Lagos can leverage, technologically to close this infrastructure and inclusion gap? For Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Let me put my video on. Okay. All right. To close the infrastructure. So I would say one, there's the approach for every stakeholder, ministry, whatever, to work together as a unit. The tendency is that everybody wants to work in silos, and that would definitely not work. There needs to be a harmonized unit, because if you look at where countries are utilizing technology, and you see that they all work as a unit, and everything is flowing into one another. Where you have a situation whereby you have solutions that are in silos, you are not working, so you are working at cross purposes instead of them to work as a unit. That is first step, very, very important. So what am I trying to say? A unified digital infrastructure strategy. And in the era that we live in, that would be the best approach for us to go. Secondly, clear policies on data privacy. We all know that data is the new gold. Data is the new oil, let me say it, and everything is being powered by data. You can do a lot with data. So what are policies on data privacy, cybersecurity, and the likes? And of course, the ethical use of AI. AI, since it came about 3 years ago, AI is a fast-moving train that everybody better get on board. And the AI train is not waiting for anybody. If Nigeria and Lagos, I see Lagos as the fulcrum of what Nigeria is possible of achieving, because Lagos, in my opinion, Lagos is the startup capital of Africa. So we had better take our rightful place in leading this technology drive across the continent of Africa. How much time do I have left, Prince Will? There's so much I could talk about. Do I continue, or I should stop?
Also, I think each of these questions, you have just 3 minutes. Each of these questions.
3 minutes. Have I exhausted my 3 minutes? Just want to be sure.
try and round this off so we move
Okay,
over to the other.
okay. So another thing also is accessibility and affordability. Closing the technology gap is very important, and a lot has been done, which is very, very commendable, and there's still a lot of possibility. They said the biggest room is a room for improvement. So a lot can still be done, and I believe will be done. Like I always say, once the willingness is there, there's nothing that cannot be achieved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a very defined answer. I'll quickly go to Shay. I heard everything you said about, the points you made, actually. So my question is, first, Tech Sales Academy focuses on building digital skills for employability. But how can such initiatives support Lagos's goal of inclusive technological growth?
Okay. So Tech Sales Academy is an example of a skill building initiative. All right, which is the fact that we help people that want to go into tech sales or begin their career in tech sales to sell technology products. Right. So it's an example. So let's look at it from point of view of skill building initiatives. All right, which example is Tech Sales Academy. So skill building initiatives are like pillars. Okay? They're like pillars to a lot of startups. And it's important that we focus on those skill building initiatives because it is one thing for a visionary or a founder to create a startup, and it's another thing to now have competent people that can sustain that startup or that ecosystem. So, for example, at Texas Academy, one of the things we've seen is that if you take someone that you see that this person has potential, it could be in the person is good with graphics, it could be that the person is good with analytical thinking, it could be in anything. It could be content creation, all right? But if you can have, because let me tell you something. One thing that's very sad I see online is during content creation, someone creates a content and goes viral. The next thing is managerial bodies approach the person just so that they can make money with the person as well. But you can have a skill initiative program where people can go through things like this and they can learn things, they can go through a structured learning, a structured mentorship, and of course, maybe get access to job and change their career. All right. You also change their entire economic trajectory. It helps them live a better life. So they have an improved high standard of living. So for example, so skill building initiatives are if we want Lagos to be the Silicon of Africa, all right, we need to take those skill building initiatives as the pipelines, or as the engine room to feed that ideology.
Thank you very much for that, Lisa. So I'll come to Olumide now. Olumide, cloud technology is becoming the backbone of digital transformation. Now, my question to you is, how can Lagos leverage cloud infrastructure to promote inclusive and scalable growth? From your experience and everything you've said, how can Lagos leverage cloud infrastructure? That's to Olumide.
So when we think of the cloud in the context of, Lagos, right, it's not just about technology, but at the next layer of infrastructure, right? We've done quite a lot with growth, with bridges, with metro fiber. Now, the next thing is how do you make Lagos a city scalable digital backbone for everyone, right? Whereby the public agencies, the startups, the schools, the hospitals, they can all plug into it, right? And I think Lagos, we're already in the right direction. There are like 3 strong foundations that would make this possible, right? Currently, there is a ongoing project of about 3,500 kilometers of metro fiber being deployed across the state, right? Expanding connectivity and creating baseline for connected cities, right? There's also a project that is ongoing. I think I saw something around a 22 million data center being set up by clinics to make sure that they create an infrastructure whereby cloud cloud providers can come and also set up their services, right? There is data centers by Rack Center, by May1, right? And we also have policies that sort of encourage this based on, the NIDA policy, for 2019, which encourage local storage and personal sensitive information. So how do we take all of this, right? How do we take this scale? How do we make it inclusive? How do we make it, a cloud infrastructural model, right, that is scalable that makes it the backbone of infrastructure in Lagos. I call this the city scale cloud layer, right? Whereby we have federated cloud environment where a school in Aja, for instance, and clinic in Ikorodu and a startup in Yaba, right, can all share the same backbone of application. There is this fragmentation of different application softwares, being built in, the public agencies, in the private sectors that are fragmented, they're isolated, right? And these data are sort of tied back to maybe a citizen, one person or the other. How do we unify this to make sure that at the point where you need to have access to information across a personnel, maybe when it comes to educational background, when it comes to the medical background, when it comes to how what you are doing, we have like a federated cloud environment where applications and hardware, software's information of that particular data is in a central unit. And if you look at it, this initiative is not new, right? It was done previously in Kenya, right, by the Kenya Kenzo Technologies, when they had the same issue of fragmented data, fragmented applications, each system or each department having their own data, each department having their own applications. And also, it was also done by the UK government, right? There was a particular time where they had to merge all of their resources, merge all of their application, over 1,300 of them, right, into one, website, which is the government.uk, right, software, which houses quite a lot of softwares, just like an entry point to the educational sector, the hospital sectors, and all of that. And with that, we believe that this will help us centralize data, right? Because like was said earlier, data is like the new gold, right? How much information can we use? How much analytics can we get, right, from this particular person? How much data is attached to this person, right? How much can we analyze, predictive analysis based of the data that we are able to access, and this also helps startups, right? Because one of the major challenges that we face, right, building a cloud automation platform, speaking to clients, right, is always two major things: cost of the cloud, right? I'm putting my software into the cloud. There is, unexpected cost that comes with it. And if you have this kind of data centers functioning, we have this, cloud environment, it's easy, right? Because that means costs will drop drastically, right? It will also help the small SMEs to also bring up new initiatives and even reduce the FX trade, right? Of having to pay for all of your cloud solutions probably in hard currency. And you are able to grow faster. And also, maybe a student in Unilag or in university can think of a solution and not have a barrier to how do I scale this? How do I have access to that, infrastructure where, it helps me build scalably, build a global product, even from the confinement of my home, right? And this can be done in phases, right? We can have like a pilot phase that is measuring, the multi-tenant cloud backbone, right? We can track it, we can also scale it. Over time, it brings like a unity between the public sector, the private sector, the cloud provider sector, to be able to set up scalable infrastructure for Lagos, and also to make Lagos like the cohort, like the incubator of ideas, because currently startups in Lagos are doing pretty well, right? But how do we scale this, so that they can build solutions that will solve the informal communities, that will solve the SMEs, that would also scale, in the long run. Yeah.
I have
Thank
to
you very
cut
much.
you short
Yes.
time, and then those of you that are just joining us, you're welcome to today's pre-conversation session ahead of the Art Technology Lagos 7.0. So this year's theme is Future Technologies and a Sustainable Lagos, which focuses on how innovation can drive inclusive development and long-term growth for Africa's most dynamic city, Lagos. So we are looking at the topic using technology to expand infrastructure access and ensure inclusive growth. So this session will explore how digital tools, public-private partnership, innovation ecosystem can expand access and also enhance efficiency and then create a more inclusive urban future. So welcome once again. So I'll start with you again, Jonathan. So Jonathan, what governance and policy frameworks are needed to ensure that tech-driven infrastructure development can remain sustainable and inclusive? If you can hear me well.
So, Prince, can you take that again?
Okay, thank you. I said, what governance and policy frameworks are needed to ensure that technology-driven infrastructure development remains sustainable and inclusive? Are you there? Hello, Jonathan. Okay.
Can you hear me, Prince Will?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so sorry. It was, I don't know why it keeps muting. So, what governance and technology frameworks are needed? I would say um, it flows into a lot of the conversation that we are having today. Um, there's need for, I like the word adaptive regulation. And why am I saying that? Adaptive in sense of it's not cast in stone. There'll be like regulatory sandboxes for, of course, we're having a very good run with most of some of our fintech companies who are in Lagos, mobility, clean energy, and then so like adaptive regulation, of course, it will still allow for them to grow. This also shows them, like it has been said, Lagos is a startup capital of Africa, and this also ensures an arena whereby innovation is being encouraged. People are encouraged to learn fast, and then there's an atmosphere whereby startups can grow. And then also good governance also ensures that technology serves people. I always say that technology is an enabler. Also, you can look at things like, I think I said it before, affordability and accessibility. For every major tech project, it should also include like looking at something you can give back, social impact, what's the assessment, and also a plan for the citizenry. Also, we can also look at how our agencies and our companies, they collect their data. How do they store this data? How do they share this data? Of course, this data from the citizens. So these are some of the ways whereby, and then very important, getting the citizens to also trust that whatever solutions are being brought out, smart city solutions, would not become surveillance tools, because the citizenry need to also have trust in whatever tools that are being deployed, that is for their good and is not to spy on them. So just in a few words. Thank you. Prince Will.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Okay, so I'm coming over to you, Shay. Beyond physical infrastructure, what role does digital literacy play in ensuring that no one is left behind in Lagos' tech-driven future? I
Okay,
said,
so
yeah,
yeah,
job infrastructure.
I got the question. So let me say
Okay.
my own, just like Jonathan said his own. So digital literacy is like the new electricity. you know, so the idea of digital literacy is that it's important we involve, this new designer that I say involve me. The idea of digital literacy is that we need to try and involve people into what we're building. So for example, you can build structures, fiber optic structures, you can build towers, you can have innovation hubs, you can build an app, you can build a social media platform. But if people cannot use the tools, then they are excluded. All right. So we need to find a way to bring digital literacy because it's the foundation that ensures every digital transformation is for everybody and not just for a set of people. All right. And that's what has made people like so the social media platforms, be everywhere or go viral. People can easily use it. Ease of use. All right. No too much complex screens. People can use it as a, people can use it to even be on a global stage. Parents can leverage an example, say fintech or maybe a golf tech services. Micro businesses can use your tools to scale. People now to access digital jobs. So for us to have this, um, for us to ensure that no one is left out in Lagos tech-driven future, the Lagos government need to find a way to invest so much in digital literacy. It's not just about coding, but about being able to navigate a digital world confidently. All right. So imagine a Lagos state where a conductor can collect, payments digitally, or where a marketing uses a simple CRM tool, to know how many sales she made in a particular day. Back then you see a market woman will leave maybe her daughter or someone in market go for a function and cannot see what she's saying per time wherever she is. So the Lagos State government need to find a way to bring this digital literacy, and I think that's what we are doing at Technology Lagos. All right, and I commend the team for doing that. Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Thank you. That was a wonderful insight from you, Shay. So I'll come over to you, Olumide. So many startups and small businesses struggle with access to robust digital infrastructure. So now here, what solutions or models can bridge this gap?
Thank you very much for that question. This is like a challenge that I would say at some point when building solutions we face, right, as startups, and is a problem that it is a problem that is actually life. Like people are going through this, struggle of access to robots, digital infrastructure because it's a pain point, right? Startup founders have ideas, right? But along the line, there is a momentum drop when you have to try to struggle or fight for a compute credit. Have to, probably set up your DevOps process, from scratch, or you have to even manage compliance at one point or the other based on data policy, data privacy, and all of that, right? And to fix this, right, not just in the private sector alone, but as a Lagos as a whole, right? You can have like a structured cloud access model, right? This is very practical, measurable, and very inclusive, right? And this is making sure that there is access to mentorship, right? Access to credit, and also access to a certain level of financing, which in the long run, measure, uptime, right? For a startup that is probably just has this idea trying to solve a problem that that he has come across, and at the point where he's done building the solution, then he has start thinking about the next thing. How do I make this solution available to the market? How do I scale this? What's the right cloud infrastructure? What's the right digital infrastructure to use, right, to make this a global problem, or make this solution available to the people that need it, right? And to be very honest, a lot of size and growth and market when it comes to the cloud market, right? And is increasing and is growing rapidly. For the last, I think the current projection of the cloud computing market is about a 1.3 billion, right? And there is a 25-30% increment, right, in the next 5 years. So what that means is that now we need to tap into the cloud compute market. We need to make sure that there is affordable digital infrastructure for the SMEs, right? You make sure that there is a bridge for the knowledge gap. How do we, solve this? China have done it, right? They built a homegrown provider like the likes of Huawei Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, to make sure that innovators, the small SMEs, startups, they are able to, come up with inventions. They're able to come up with solutions. And this not only just affects those, it also boosts the economy. It also even makes the economy and the strength of the naira even more efficient, right? And how do we do this? First, startup programs, right? Like over 1,000+ startups can enroll in the Cloud Access Management Program by Lagos, right? Whereby they have access to mentorship. How do you deploy a solution in the cloud? How do you make it scalable? How do you make it highly available? How do you, put in compliance from day one? Because it is one thing to have an idea, it's another thing to know the policies and the compliances that bind it, right? So at the point where, you're probably out there, you are not falling short of some certain data policies or some certain, compliance that is needed for you to scale, right? So mentorship is very important, right? And making sure that there's infrastructure for them to build on cloud credits. Also enabling the local providers, cloud providers, making sure that this infrastructure is accessible to a lot, right? Use systems like the data centers that we have, use systems like Layer, use systems like Cloud to Africa. Make sure that at every point in time, they are able to adopt the local technologies, right? They're able to adopt the cloud technologies. And how do we now make this possible? By creating a shared DevOps template and marketplace. You don't need the cloud barrier. You don't need the cost. You don't need to worry about cost. There are configurations that are available to you. Plug, use, and build fantastic projects that would solve problem in the large scale, internally, globally, from Lagos State. So I believe that all of these things is a work in the park, and it's something that is very achievable, if put into implementation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Olumide. That was really insightful. So for our next round of questions, we'll have just about 2 minutes for each speaker to attend to them. So kindly do your best as much as possible to kill the time. So I'll come to Jonathan. Jonathan, you spoke earlier about unifying our system and our strategies and everything all together, right? You specifically mentioned public-private partnerships and all, and that's leading to this question. How can public-private partnerships better align around innovation to expand access to essential services and economic opportunities? So how can public-private partnerships better align around innovation to expand access?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that question. So I'll take it like this. Public-private partnerships should it's needed, of course. I said that it takes two to tango. So it's a system whereby they should agree on measurable goals, and then also such as what they want to achieve, number of people with reliable power, of course, the digital payment penetration, And then also, there's a need to also encourage public-private platforms where the government set standards and also provides the data. And then also, you can also look at the combining, of course, public funds, private capital with development finance, them also working together for projects within Lagos. So, and of course, across the country. So it's very, very possible. I mean, and it's something that I feel is the way to go. The public sector and the private sector working together. And I'll say this just to add, to conclude my submission. When people understand the why, and then they have the skills for the how, and see their role in the who, then technology becomes a tool for inclusion and prosperity. Thank you.
That was very insightful. Thank you very much for that detailed and the will I call it a quote? I don't think we'll forget that. So let me quickly go to the next speaker. Shay, coming to you, spoke about underserved communities. That's what's leading to this, my question. What are some practical ways technology can open access to opportunities for people in underserved communities, you understand, or informal sectors? So what are some practical ways technology can open access to opportunities for these people? Please, let's keep it under 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. So I think more accessibility, right? The government needs to find a way to collaborate with private, sector to go maybe. So the government creates like the platform in collaboration with the private sector. So government and private sectors can, do things together where the government fund the private sectors to train more of these people, all right, to solve more local problems, all right. There's a joke we usually make, which is that let's look for more solutions other than fintech, all right. How can we consider solutions in transport, in health, in education, in waste management, in traffic management, all right, even in our individual lives, basically. So I think if the government can have more collaboration with private, sectors, where private sectors can get this training, all right, and why there are some other people in the private sector that are developing these solutions, then can have a system where there's a pipeline and a funnel to get everybody included in this tech boom in Lagos.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I'll come to Olumide now. A quick question for you, rather. From your experience in DevOps automation, how can local innovation ecosystems build more resilient and cost-effective digital infrastructure? And I would appreciate if you can give a case study, how it has happened, maybe in another market. You understand how local innovation ecosystems build more resilient and cost-effective digital infrastructure? Olumide. You're mute.
Yeah, thank you so much. When building solutions, right? From my experience, as a DevOps expert and a software engineer, right? How do we build more resilient and cost-effective system? The major bottlenecks are for every enterprise or every business is how do I make sure that my system is highly available and is resilient? How do I make sure it's also very cost effective? These two go hand in hand, right? You can't scale sustainability without automation, and you cannot automate effectively without standardization, right? Everything has to be properly standardized. So right now, every innovation hub in Lagos probably have their own infrastructure stack, right? Separate servers, monitoring and pipeline, their own processes. At the end of the day, it brings a sort of inefficiencies and inconsistencies, and also the knowledge gap. And remember, deploying your solution in a DevOps automation space, you have to probably integrate with one cloud provider or the other, right? And they all have their own ecosystem. They all have their own knowledge gap. They all have, how they do stuff. That's why I mean, by standardization, this is how you can secure your solution. This is how you make it resilient. This is how you make it highly available. This is how you, do this, do that, and you follow those manuals. But how about we have a shared DevOps as a service platform where all of these configurations, standardizations, templates, and automations are already done, right? We have systems like that already exist, even outside, Nigeria, right? We have processes like render. We have processes like we have processes like render, right, that already solves that. We have processes like notify that also do some sort of things around that for the front-end applications. We also have softwares in Nigeria like Cloud Senior that is also making sure that there is standardization and structure to make sure that even a non-technical founder doesn't have to worry about scalability, doesn't have to worry about cost effectiveness, doesn't have to worry about resilience, because why all of these things are manual that can be built, right, that can be configured and that can be deployable across board, which makes it scalable, all the way. So this is one way to go about it. And there's also some processes, that is already in place. And that is why I think there is this 3 million technical talent that was organized to make sure that you build or you train cloud and DevOps students to become expert and be able to, deploy these skills into all of that, into those areas. So this will help us, save costs. Major bottleneck for every business. Every business wants to save costs and they want to go to the market fast. There is never a system or never a software, a startup that is probably going out in the market. They are eager to, okay, let's go fast. So how do we make sure that this is done? Deploy solution that is meant for in 3 days, deploy it to 2 hours. What would that will cost you $1,000? Shrink it down to half the price because you are following some configurations, and also make sure that you have reusable infrastructure across board, not just for the experts, but also for the SMEs, also for enterprise, also for the non-technical people, so they can also have access to it. So is a shared DevOps as a platform, just like we do in Cloud Senior, to make sure that this DevOps automation is able, to bridge that gap and help you build cost-effective and resilient data infrastructure. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. That was very detailed. One point I picked from both Olumide and Shade is said the same thing, is that a shared infrastructure is required and it has to be local, so it's cost effective and all. So I'll jump directly to my last round of questions, and I'm directing this at Jonathan, because this has got to do with soft power, right? You've been a manager. So from your experience as a manager, what role does capacity building and stakeholder alignment play in translating technology adoption into real social impact? Because we understand that, beyond the skills, beyond the, technicalities and everything, soft power play a major role. So from your experience as a manager, what role does capacity building and stakeholder alignment play in translating technology adoption into real social impact? Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Capacity building plays a very major role. I know the benefit of capacity building, having done for quite a number of years. But I would say that in technology adoption, let me use this phrase. I love phrases, using phrases people can remember. Technology adoption without capacity is a mirage. Now, what am I saying? We can install the best sensors, we can install the best software, we can install the best technology in Lagos. If the citizens, the operators, the public servants don't know how to use them, maintain or trust them, the impact is going to be minimal. So it's very important that there's capacity building. There's a lot of upskilling, there's reskilling and upskilling. Now, capacity building is also what converts capital expenditure into real outcomes. And there's need to build capacity at 3 levels. First level is leadership capacity. Second is the technical and operational capacity. Thirdly is the citizen capacity. That goes into digital literacy, which I believe it was Sheyi that said that digital literacy is the new electricity. Also, we look at financial literacy, we look at also awareness. So we build skills at this level. It's very important that capacity building is built. We are talking at AOT this year, 7.0, on future technologies and a sustainable Lagos. There's a need whereby to back up technology adoption with capacity. And also, no matter how good the strategy is, like I say, strategy without execution is hallucination. So we might have the best strategies, this is what we want to do and all that. But if we don't have a mind for ruthless execution, all we are doing is hallucinating. And it becomes an effort in futility. So there's a need for us to back up our strategy with action. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Shay, I'll direct this question at you because he said something. There's need for ruthless execution, right? And off the top of your head, we've been talking about private public partnerships and all that. I want you to let me know now what you, off the top of your head, from your perspective, how can government and private stakeholders collaborate to expand access to digital infrastructure and skill building programs across Lagos? Off the top of your head.
I say one of the things I would say is joint innovation grants.
Okay.
Yeah, joint innovation grants. To accommodate the capacity of people that would need this. All right, some of these private sectors don't have their current facility cannot accommodate this capacity. All right, so if government can come and say, okay, you know what, we're going to subsidize this, or we're going to give 100% scholarship, then to the private sector, okay, instead of paying X amount, we'll pay 50% less, but you take care of this about 10,000 people. If a private sector is making say 1,000 on one student, for example, or he or she, the government come and say, you know, I'm going to pay 300 now for 10,000 students. I believe the private sector also, yeah, makes sense. All right, bulk and can achieve it. So I think joint innovation grants can help that. That's one thing I can say off my head.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And lastly, to Olumide, I know we've been talking about this partnership thing and DevOps and everything, but you also, off the top of your head, right? What role do partnerships between cloud providers, startups, and government, emphasis on cloud providers, startups, and the government, this is three different stakeholders, play? What role do they play in ensuring inclusive access to digital tools across Lagos? What practical role do they play?
Actually, when it comes to partnership is the real infrastructure, to be right.
Okay.
Very honest, because I've seen that play out. I mean, the private sectors and the cloud providers, operate inside. There is a lot of duplicate efforts, right? Trying to solve a problem, but now in silos, right? So, but when there's an alignment, right, technology becomes, a public utility, like making sure that there is now a certain synergy, right? Right. And this can be done by doing like a public cloud innovation compact for Lagos, right? So the cloud provider has a certain responsibility, or how would I use the word, KPI, right? And there is a certain measure or expectation from the government, right? Which is the cloud providers and also the startups, right? To make sure that they can also build, innovative ideas. So government set up policies, fund infrastructures, they define the inclusion targets, right? Solutions, right? Which provide like public oversight, even within the agencies and also the private sector. Also the cloud providers, provide platforms, provide trainings, provides API integration that ensure that compliance, with data protection is in place, right? And also make sure that the cloud provider is affordable to you, to, the startup, right? And now the startups, the founders, they build localized use cases, right? Solve a problem, right? That address Lagos specific problems, leverage programs, and that sort of make sure that everyone is working, as a team. One sector is playing a role, right, in making Lagos, a smart city. The other sector is also playing a role to solve, one problem or the other, right? And I believe that, the next kind of infrastructure is digital, right? And Lagos already has an ambition, right? The ecosystem, the energy, the right people, the right founders, the right ecosystem. But what we just need now is a lot of alignment. How do we bet forth that new wave of technology, that new wave of inclusive growth, just as other countries have done. In Rwanda have done it, Kenya has done it, right? And now we have technology that is available to everyone, right? If you can align in terms of policies, align in terms of the cloud, align in terms of the people, we won't just build a connected city, I believe, right? But we'll build a more equitable and a future-ready Lagos where everybody plays a role in how we shape it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. I would, I want, I want you all to give me just one sentence to close out this session. And my question is, where do you see Lagos in the next 5 years from? Because there's a lot of initiatives going on right now, right? A lot of interventions and everything to grow. Everything. This conversation is one of them. Where do you see Lagos in the next 5 years from now? Just one sentence. Jonathan, if you're still here, you can go first.
Yes, I see Lagos as one of the leading cities in Africa that is going to that will be the deciding game changer for the African continent. We're on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shay, can you go next?
Okay, so for me, in next 5 years, I see a drastic reduction in the age of founder startup age. All right. It has already been reducing, but we are seeing more of younger generations in their teens, wanting to try out some ideas. So I see Lagos will have more of younger guys. The age of founder age will reduce next 5 years.
That's great. Thank you very much. Olumide, can we have you next?
Yeah, so I see Lagos as the next, frontier of innovation, right? We saw a projection of the smart city, setting up infrastructures, data centers. So I see Lagos as, a more equitable ecosystem to bet new inventions, right? A lot of inventions, in the fintech sector. There are also inventions that are coming up in other sectors as well. So I see Lagos as that hub, that is richly powering not just Nigeria, but also, the African continent at large. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll leave it to Prince Ray now. Prince Ray, you can come aboard.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know I was muted. I said thank you for this wonderful insight. And then with our time fast spent, I don't know if there is any one of you here that would like to ask a question. I don't know, though our time is fast spent, but if there's any one of you here with a question. Okay, you can write your questions or you can reach out to us. We'll send your questions to the speakers. So I want to use this opportunity to thank you all for, or thank you so much to all our incredible speakers for sharing such an insightful perspective on today's topic, which is using technology to expand infrastructure access and ensure inclusive growth. Your contribution have shed light on practical pathway for leveraging innovation and to build a more inclusive and resilient Lagos. So to our audience, thank you for joining and engaging with us in this important pre-conversation leading up to the Art of Technology 7.0. So this year, AOT promises to be bigger and more impactful, bringing together government leaders, innovators, investors, and policy experts to create actionable strategies that will shape the future of Lagos and sustainability in Lagos. So we invite everyone here today to be part of this landmark event, whether in person or so, as well as we explore how future technologies can accelerate Lagos' journey towards becoming a truly smart, inclusive, and sustainable city. And we also encourage you to join us next week for another exciting pre-conversation session, which promises to be even more insightful as we continue building momentum towards AOT 7.0 this December. And we invite you there. And once again, thank you to all our speakers and everyone who joined us today. We look forward to seeing you next week and ultimately at AOT 7.0. My name is Prince Will Onyekachi. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
For the good one. Thank you.